what I've always said about the hand smoother and land adjustments is this. I've said I don't, because I worked on the system with a much smarter person than me. I worked on the system with Eric Lauer, and it didn't cause Eric Lauer to want to do that. And the system functions differently than everybody talks about, including LSV. I didn't expect anything different. It's just like it's permeated into the community now that the way that the hand smoother works is to take two hands and give you the one that is closest to your mana ratio average. It doesn't do that. It leans. I like in the post in which I described it, I said it leans. Whenever I talk about it, I say it leans, which is to say that it's not an absolute thing. It's an algorithm that Eric Lauer made that has a variable in it, and you can even adjust the variable. And so the other thing is this: I haven't been there in years now. If they haven't tweaked the variable at all, then I don't even know what they're doing with that system. They're just letting a system sit there in beta state. Like when I left, I would consider the shuffling the hand smoothing algorithm to have been in an active beta, right? We were testing it. The game was in beta. We weren't launched yet. And we were actively looking at the data we were getting from the algorithm as it was, and the current data it was producing. So it's hard for me to speak. I don't know what it is now even. I don't know if they've changed it. And I've also never, I try hard to say true things. And so when I say, if I've ever said you shouldn't, then that was probably a mistake. I've tried to always frame this in terms of what I'm doing and why. And I've tried to express that first, the community is not talking about the feature correctly because they're talking about it in absolutes that aren't absolute, that have some squish. And that squish, I don't hear people acknowledging or even thinking could possibly exist, because the community has decided how it works, even though the literal wording of my explanation 2+ years ago now contradicts what the community says about it. Subtly, but it does. And so the other point that I've always made is that like if you want, like, I think it depends. You see me cutting lands when our curve is low, but I still go 17 when I have a top end I'm trying to get to, because I still want a certain number of lands by a certain turn number in that case. And in those types of decks, being sure, more confident that you're going to start with like 2 or 3 lands is good, but you still want the density of land in your deck so that you have the likelihood of hitting your nth land drop by turn end to cast your big stuff. So that's how I approach it. But my approach has always been to look at what Eric Lauer is doing, say he is a math genius and is way smarter than me, and he has created a formula that I'm working with him on, and it's not adjusting his, so I'm not going to do it. That's always been my position, is that I don't do it because to an extreme, because I know the system works differently than the community thinks it does. And I also think that if you still have a top end in your deck, you still want the land count in there to get up there and cast that stuff. But so hopefully that clarifies it. That I've never claimed to have the mathematical knowledge to understand what's exactly correct, that I was just always trying to mimic the people who were smarter than me, who knew the system. And Hat says the hand smoother is basically voodoo. The only way to understand it is to feed it animal sacrifice. Of course, joking around, but I will say this: the other thing, you have to go back and look at the tape or whatever, and some of my other talks about this topic. But I've also called for Wizards to reveal the algorithm. If they're going to continue to use a hand smoothing algorithm that is not even doing what the community clearly thinks. Hey, Wizards, the community talks about the smoother as though it does X when it does not do X, and you know it doesn't do X. It does something different. That's okay. if you're going to keep using it, if it's good enough, if that hand smoother is good and you like it, you should be able to share it with the world and have that be fine. You should be able to post the algorithm and say, here's what we're doing. You know, like, because if it's exploitable, if knowing the algorithm makes it super exploitable in a way that is bad for Magic, then you shouldn't be using it, right? And if knowing the algorithm is not exploitable in a way that's bad for Magic, you should be proud to share it. So either stop using it or share it. It shouldn't be this black box that the community doesn't even know what's going on in. That's wrong. How's that? That fair update on my stance on the hand smoother? All right.